All right, what's up, y'all? Dash Traded. Hope you guys are doing good today. Today is Monday. It is the 11th of December, and it is 2023. So check this out. I don't know how many times I gotta do this. I don't know how many times I gotta say this, but I'm gonna play this video for y'all. It is in fact a video that I did on TikTok. And I really want y'all to understand. And I'm going to get into the intricacies of this video. So I'm gonna play it for you guys right about now. So I'm gonna say this, and I really hope that this video goes viral. I really do. I don't know how many times I gotta tell you guys, never talk to a hearing officer. When you go into a support hearing or a custody hearing, the judge is going to say, well, I'm going to have you guys talk to a hearing officer. And then you guys tell me some hideous things like, well, the judge said we had to talk to the hearing officer. Yep. And the second you get in front of that hearing officer, say, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge. And when that hearing officer says the judge required that we go in there and say my constitutional rights, even though this is not real court, as individuals want to say, I get it. I wanted this matter to go in front of a judge. Once again, hearing officers interpret. So if you say to a hearing officer, I have better living arrangements for the child. She lives with her mama in a one-bedroom apartment in a senior citizens community. Therefore, I should have the child. That's going to get converted to the judge or on paper or in a hearing custody order as the father wants custody of the child. All the intricate details as to why you deserve to have the child and have better living arrangements will never, ever make it to a deciding factor. Never be part of a deciding factor. Never talk to a hearing officer. In addition to that, let me sum it up. This is why I came here this evening. Do not, under no circumstances, bring anything to court that a hearing officer asks you to bring. I want to be clear about something. Let me say that one more again. Do not ever bring anything to court that a hearing officer asks you to bring. When you go to court, you are not fighting the hearing officer. So the hearing officer should not be testifying and telling you to do all this. And then the mother is sitting there like and you there fighting the hearing officer. You are not fighting the hearing officer. A person sued you to come to court. And if a person said, I want to know how much you make, that person should file a subpoena with the court. Stop doing it. I keep telling y'all, we draft up information where you go ahead and file that and let that be your testimony. Do not go to court and talk to these individuals under no circumstances. A hearing officer, that is. If, in fact, you got an attorney, yeah, you better get at me, dog. Better DMX that shit. So I'm going to say... All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to help you understand. I'm going to help you guys understand the intricacies in each part of this video. So, I'm going to come back. I'm going to take a little break because I'm doing some pull-ups. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But it's going to be like a flashing of a second for you guys. All right. Now, because I said numerous things in this video, now I'm going to break each piece of it down. So let's start it all over and I'll stop it. Hey, listen, man, and I really hope that this video goes viral. I really do. I don't know how many times I got to tell you guys, never talk to a hearing officer. When you go into a support hearing or a custody hearing, the judge is going to say, well, I'm going to have you guys talk to a hearing officer. And then you guys tell me some hideous things like, well, the judge said we had to talk to the hearing officer. Yup. All right. All right. So when I say, I don't know how many times I got to tell you guys not to talk to a hearing officer. A phone call just came in. I don't know how many times I got to tell you guys not to talk to a hearing officer. I don't know how many videos I made saying this, but for some reason, because individuals will believe what you say, but they'll try to hit you with a lot of narratives because they want to be coddled. When I talk to fathers, it really amazes me how a man would be like, okay, all right, I'm gonna go to court to say that. But then somebody that got that single mom coddle me complex, they'll be like, but what if they say that? Well, they just keep going in and out, and then I have to tell them, look, I'm not going to coddle you, bruh. So I said, I don't know how many times I got to tell you that, and then I said, you guys be coming up with these narratives like the judge said. Now, the judge, what family court is it's a mocked up total gut work of true court process. A lot of attorneys, a lot of judges end up going to family court when they're at the end of the road of their careers, or they want to just simply get their feet wet with going to court. So they enter family court. The reason why? It's a no-lose situation on them, meaning there are no laws. So if there are no laws, the people that are throwing this court party, they get to dictate whatever is going on. In criminal court, there are laws and guidelines. You can't just pop up with a witness. Your Honor, objection. That witness wasn't on the list. Your Honor, rebuttal witness just in case XYZ. Blah, 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 blah. I'll allow it or I'll strike that. We won't allow it, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't happen in family court. In family court, you guys go to court and don't understand your position. So I find myself having to say the same things over and over and over and repeating myself over and over again. I also said in there that you guys go in front of a judge and you say that the judge said go in front of a hearing officer. Let me back that up. And then come on. You guys tell me some hideous things like, well, the judge said we had to talk to the hearing officer. Yup, and the second you get in front of that hearing officer, say, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge. And when that hearing officer... Okay, hold on. Let me get that piece in there. You get in front of that hearing officer, say, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge. And when that hearing officer says, the judge required that we go in there and say, my constitutional rights, even though this is not real court, as individuals want to say, I get it. I wanted this matter to go in front of a judge. Once again, hearing officers interpret. All right. So you guys going to go to court, and to validate you saying that I went in front of a hearing officer and totally gave them the upper hand, I went in front of a hearing officer and said, no, I want the big dildo. You know, I went in front of the hearing officer and said, please allow me to just incriminate myself because the judge told you to go in front of that hearing officer. Right. So the judge wants you to go in front of the hearing officer because the judge says, I'll let them deal with it. And then when I'll deal with the recommendation and simply sign off on it. So the judge is AKA passing the buck. I guess I'll do a video on that alone. So the judge is AKA passing the buck. But guess what? When you get in front of that hearing officer, you sit down, you swear in, attorney or not. You simply sit down in front of that hearing officer and say, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge. I plead the Fifth Amendment to any further testimony. Now, you're going to say, once again, you're going to go to that hearing officer, you're going to sit down, you're going to swear in, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge. I plead the Fifth Amendment to any further testimony. Now, when you say that, what you're doing is the same thing that happens. Now, you guys believe this when it happens over there. You believe it when you see a criminal that's being interrogated on 48 hours. And that criminal says, I would like to have my attorney present. Then they grab all their folders and be like, okay, be right back with you in a second. You see that they stop, it stops them in their actions. You believe it then. But when I tell you to say this to a hearing officer, for some strange reason, you don't believe it. For some strange reason, this is the wrong thing. So you believe it over there, but when it's time for you to execute it, for some strange reason, you don't believe it. Now, so you go in front of a hearing officer and you say, I swear in, I would like the matter to go in front of a judge. I plead the Fifth Amendment to any further testimony. Now, that hearing officer, of course, is going to be offended. That hearing officer is going to try to invoke no, I got power over you, or I got power. And I'm going to be sorry, give me a second. When I say hearing officer, I mean hearing officer, commissioners, okie dokians, whatever they say they are is, whatever they say they are is, that goes for them too, okay? You do not want this thing to go in front of a hearing officer. Once again, now that hearing officer is going to try to invoke some old, no, I got the power. Well, and so they'll say this, well, this case is going to go on with or without you. And then the mother say, well, he like to go ladies in front of, he like to do this. And every time she say something, they'll be looking at you, hoping that you'll break your silence. Because once you say, I want this matter to go in front of a judge, that hearing is no longer valid. They don't want to tell you that. All right. Hold on a second. God dang it. Okay. So hearing officers are the worst. So when you sit down in front of that hearing officer and you say, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge, what that hearing officer is going to do is try to intimidate you. That hearing officer is going to try to invoke some intimidation. And the way that hearing officer is going to try to invoke intimidation by saying, well, this hearing is going to continue with or without you. And then they'll let the mother testify. And then she'll start saying things. And I know deep inside, you're going to be like, oh, I want to say something. Oh, F what that big League of Dads guy say with his big globe head. That ain't right. Blah, blah, blah. And the second you start cacking, you void your request for the matter to go in front of a judge. You see, they're not going to tell you, but the second you say, I would like this matter to go in front of a judge, that hearing is no longer valid. They're just in there just cacking to be cacking. It's the same thing like you say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you if you decide to give up those rights, right? They break it down to you. You can shut up after that. But every talking you do after that will be used against you. This is how it is with these hearing officers. So do not, under no circumstances, talk to a hearing officer. I also said that hearing officers do nothing but interpret. I did say that, right? I heard what I said because I was sitting here when I said it, right? Now, I said hearing officers do nothing but interpret, right? Right? Hearing officers, they do nothing but interpret. So what does that mean? Think about this. Think about a traffic sign that instead of a green light, it said, you and another car may enter the intersection at the same time and have a collision. Instead of controlling that car, making it stop, and then you go, or you stop and letting it go. Why would they waste their time making traffic signs that say things like, instead of sharp curve straight ahead, the sign says the road ahead is not straight? You want precise information so you can adjust accordingly. Yes? Okay. I thought you would think so. Well, that's what hearing officers are. Hearing officers are interpreters. And things always get lost in translation. Always. The way it was said. This is why sometimes wars start with each other over text messages. And then they finally realize, well, I guess it was something you had to hear me say as opposed to read the way I said it. This is why under no circumstances you want to go in front of a hearing officer, because hearing officers do nothing but interpret. And you don't want your words interpreted. You told that hearing officer, she sleeps on a couch. Her mother has a 1-bedroom apartment in the senior living community. She's not even supposed to be there. I got a house, I got a home, I got adequate living space for the child. And guess what that hearing officer is going to say? The father wishes to have visitation time. All of what you said just went up in flames. So
no circumstances do you talk to a hearing officer. You don't. Stop it. Let us continue.
About women is women are excellent at women. So I'm gonna say this, and man, a custody hearing tell me some hideous things like, well, the judge required that we go in there and say my constitution is interpreted. As individuals want to say, I get it. I want this matter to go in front of a judge. Once again, hearing officers interpret. So if you say to a hearing officer, I have better living arrangements for the child. She lives with her mama in a one-bedroom apartment in a senior citizens community. Therefore, I should have the child. That's going to get converted to the judge or on paper or on a hearing custody order as the father wants custody of the child. All the intricate details as to why you deserve to have the child and have better living arrangements will never ever make it to a deciding factor. Never be part of a deciding factor. Never talk to a hearing officer. In addition to that, let me sum it up. This is why I came here this evening. Do not, under no circumstances, bring anything to court that a hearing officer asks you to bring. I want to be clear about something. Let me say that one more again. Do not ever bring anything to court that a hearing officer asks you to bring.
Okay. Let me make one more comment about the hearing officer, then I'm going to move forward and answer to that comment there. So check this out. When you tell a hearing officer you want to go in front of a judge, that is your constitutional rights. Nowhere in your constitutional rights does it say you must first go talk in front of a negotiator, aka a hearing officer, guardian ad litem, all these old jacked ass narratives, money scheme scammers that they're doing. It doesn't. So that's that. Now, what I just said in that statement there, and I'm going to repeat it so I can come right behind it.
You deserve to have the child and have better living arrangements will never ever make it to a deciding factor. Never be part of a deciding factor. Never talk to a hearing officer. In addition to that, let me sum it up. This is why I came here this evening. Do not, under no circumstances, bring anything to court that a hearing officer asks you to bring. I want to be clear about something. Let me say that one more again. Do not ever bring anything to court that a hearing officer asks you to bring. When you go to court, you are not fighting the hearing officer. So the hearing officer should not be testifying and telling you to do all this, and then the mother is sitting there like da-da-da-da-da, and you there fighting a hearing officer.
Let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of you fathers don't realize it and you don't see it. A lot of you guys don't realize it and you don't see it playing right there in front of you. You don't see it. You don't see it playing out right. You don't see it playing out right there in front of you. You go to court. Okay, so let's just say you owed me $1,000 and then I sue you in court. You see it when you watch all these judge shows. Judge Mathis, you'll see it. They'll say, Mr. Smith, you're suing Okie Dokie for $1,000? That's right, Your Honor. And Mr. Okie Dokie, we got your response back. You say that you paid Mr. Smith $1,000. Yes, I do, Your Honor. Okay, Mr. Smith, prove your case. And then I submit my evidence and blah, 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 blah. I submit my, Your Honor, I have right here, blah, 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 blah. And then when it's time for them to talk, they say blah, 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 right? You will agree with that thus far. Oh, yeah, by the way, always take what I say to your attorney, please. Once again, always take what I say to your attorney, please. Oh, shit. Oh, dear my. So what happens when you go to court, that's not the case what happens in court. When you go to court, your child's mom sues you for custody or child support. You show up in court and she never says anything. You sitting there listening to how much do you make? Where do you work? How long was you working there? Do you do overtime? Blah, 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 blah. Huh? Think about that. Think about that. I want you to think about that. Think about what I just said. You guys, all right? And like I said, excuse me, like I said, it plays out in front of you. You just don't realize it. You just don't realize it. Once again, if I, Mr. Smith, am suing Mr. Okie Dokie for $1,000. When we go to court, they're going to say, all rise. Okay. Mr. Smith, you are suing Mr. Okie Dokie for $1,000? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Okie Dokie, we got your response. You say you gave Mr. Smith his $1,000. I did, Your Honor, and I have proof of that. Good, good. Mr. Smith, prove your case. Your Honor, blah, 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 right? Mr. Okie Dokie, Mr. Smith. So Mrs. Okie Dokie now, because we would hope you had a baby with a man. Mrs. Okie Dokie takes Mr. Smith to court. Miss Okie Dokie shows up. Mr. Smith shows up. You go in front of a hearing officer and Miss Okie Dokie never says anything. You go in there and the hearing officer is doing all the testifying, building a case for Mrs. Okie Dokie. Think about what I just said. Building a case for Mrs. Okie Dokie. So you go into court, Mr. Smith, where do you work? I work 30 hours a week. Do you? Yeah, she knows I work 30 hours a week. I'm not asking her, I'm asking you. I'm talking to you. How long was you working there? Do you do overtime? Do you do this, do that? And you're going to court and the person is suing you now, never asks you one question, never says anything. The case is getting billed by the hearing officer, by the judge. Find me one other case here, a court situation where you get invited to court and you're going against the court system to get the best out of you because the woman ain't trained to come in there and ask you questions. She's not. I told Judge James Triano, you're telling me that you can give her back pay? Because I don't believe she's smart enough to do that. Now, I said this in court. She's not. So know that. Do not, under any circumstances, go in there and every time that hearing officer say something to you, say, I plead the Fifth Amendment to any questions that's going to be asked by the hearing officer. I plead the Fifth Amendment. You will not ask me any questions. If they tell you to bring something, no, that you should get a subpoena in your hand and it should be sent to you by Mrs. Okie Dokie. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Crystal clear. So if you choose to go to court and allow yourself, and this is why a lot of you say, yeah, I went to court and they got in my, I went to court and they did this. I went to court and they did that. They. And then I say, well, what was your child's mom saying? She wasn't saying nothing. What it gets down to is you fathers got to start taking control of the situation. What it gets down to is you fathers got to go in there and say, I peeped the game before I got here. And so I'm gonna go left for a second and I'm gonna talk about me for a minute or two. You may listen to me and you may say, I don't know what you're saying. Is this guy for real? Is he right? This ain't gonna work. So I'm gonna tell you about me. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I'm the youngest. My brothers used to kick us. I'm gonna be clear about that. I'm gonna be clear. I'm gonna help everybody understand. I said this before. I'm gonna say it again. You may listen to me and you may say, I don't believe this guy. No, this ain't gonna work. I assure you. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I must say that because my brothers used to put foots to my ass. When I became an adult, that wasn't going to happen no more. That was over. I have one brother that passed away. I believe he was 5'7" or 5'8". I don't remember. I have one brother that's 5'8" and another brother that's 5'9". Right? I'm 6'1". How ironic is that? I'm the youngest brother, but I'm the tallest. In addition to that, I'm 230 pounds now. I would like to think I'm the biggest. Not to say that I want to go at my brothers, because I'm not fighting my brothers. I'm just not doing that. But I have a pick on me complex. That's what you hear when you listen to me. And don't get it confused with I'm sensitive. What I'm simply saying is don't fuck with me. Under no circumstances. You will not. Don't come on my channels with the nonsense because I'm talking about your kids, your mother. I don't care what set you claiming. I don't get out of my face with that garbage. But you ain't fucking with me. This is why when my mom did what she did in 2019, I ain't spoke to her since. My thing is, you're either loved or you're hated. What you're not going to do is fuck with me when I go to family court. That's why I got the victories that I got. I made sure they understood who I was. I made sure I sent the stuff back. What you're not going to do is, I'm not going to introduce myself when I go to court. That's one thing not going to happen. You will not be introduced to me at that day. You will be introduced to me a week or two before the court date, and I'll tell you when I send you a letter. I'll see you when I get there. As I told one judge, don't act like a gangster with a robe on. Now I'll see you next week on the 3rd or whatever. Yeah. It ain't happening. Listen, if I got caught driving drunk, if I got caught driving drunk and I crashed into a school bus and killed 3 kids, I am going to be the biggest punk in the world. You can fuck with me all you want. You can yell at me. You can do whatever. I'm in the wrong. I will throw myself at the mercy of the court. But if you think you're going to take me down to family court after I've been in the military, and I'm 6'1", as I stated. I done had a drill sergeant one time, 5'7", jumping up in my face. All right, Smith, get down and give me 20. If you think all that nonsense and intimidation gonna work on me, yeah, not happening. So that's what you listen to when you listening to me. I'm not happening. I got my victories on record, and you haven't one against me. Show me where that is on record. No. In addition, you fathers got to start understanding. You guys got to stop with this. Like y'all deem the woman as untouchable. Y'all got to stop that. Y'all be allowing these women to just do what they want. Y'all be allowing these women to be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this to you. I'm gonna do that to you. I'm going to just do this to you. No, I'm going to lie on you, this and all that. Y'all guys, y'all need to stop that. You do. And when you are ready, get at me, 732-875-9111. Our consultations are $50 via PayPal or Venmo. You're not going to text me. You're going to text my secretary, Lydia. All right? Information will be below the video. I'll check you on the next one.